There's a moment in your life where you feel tired, but it's not the type of tired where it's, oh, I could just sleep this off. There's like this deep, heavy exhaustion, this restlessness that's following you around and making everything that you do daily feel extra hard, right? Something is happening and you just can't put your finger on it. You don't know what exactly it is, but you know that there's something wrong. All of a sudden, the things that were working for you are no longer working for you. The career that you thought you'd have forever now feels like an inconvenience. The relationship that you gave your best years to, you've outgrown it. Your ability to handle life feels like it's reached its max. You can't handle any more of what's happening to you, but you also can't name it, right? You feel like everything is changing, yet everything is staying the same. There's this feeling of flustered, grief, sadness, but you don't understand where it's coming from. Some people would call this a breakdown. Nearly 25 million adults in America experience a mental health crisis or a breakdown. For many people, that label is important. I'm not going to take away from talking about people with mental health issues and having breakdowns. But what if that's not the full story? What if that is not exactly what it is? I think some people experience this. It's like there's something happening, but it's not necessarily a breakdown. What if this is the beginning of a breakthrough? Some people call it a midlife crisis. Some people call it a mental breakdown. I think of this as having a spiritual awakening. Welcome to the Inner Hustle Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel. And this is spiritual self-help for today's world, helping you solve some of life's toughest problems. Today we're talking about spiritual awakening. When you have a spiritual awakening, it's not what modern spirituality points it out to be. It's not this sudden feeling of peace or clarity, or you have in the movies, they have this mountaintop moment or this moment of all of a sudden you're just one with it. That doesn't work like that, bruh. Awakening spiritually does not happen like that. It feels like restlessness. It feels like depression. It feels like you're disconnected from everything. It feels like grief, all happening at one time. You're confused. And it feels like there's this deep knowing that something is off, that something is wrong, that the life that you are living currently is not working out for you. So what exactly is a spiritual awakening? Let's define that. And this is my own perspective. Most of us have lived lives that have been conditioned. We are carrying a mask, a costume, and a script that is handed to us by our parents, by our friends, and society. A spiritual awakening happens when you have followed this script for so long that you all of a sudden you lose and forget who you are. And an awakening is the moment that you realize that. You can see everything that is happening in your life is not what you wanted for yourself. I give the analogy of it's almost like sitting in a movie theater. And instead of you just playing in the movie, you become the person that's watching you on the screen. You become aware of certain things. You start to see certain things for what they are. And some of these things don't make sense. You're dealing with grief, depression, anxiety, frustration, restlessness, all while this change is happening and recognizing that certain things in your life are no longer serving you. You have this realization that you are not the voice that is worrying about your job or your relationship or your status in life. You realize that you're the one that is listening to it. You are the observer. And the mask that you've been wearing and the script that you've been playing along to isn't you. Having that experience and dealing with all those things is so hard in the sense of not having any direction or what you're going to experience when you go through an awakening. A lot of the advice out there is very fluffy, it's very woo-woo, and there's no real insight onto what that is or what that looks like. One of the first signs of awakening is you have this restlessness. There's this discomfort. And it's like everything that felt good to you at one time now feels hollow. It no longer feels like it's fulfilling. And this can be a career. This could be family. This could be relationships. This could be anything that you're doing. It loses the spark. For some people, that's a hard thing to deal with. Some of us have worked an entire lifetime on things, and then you wake up one day and it no longer feels like it's your thing. It's a weird experience. The next thing you start to usually deal with is the expectations and roles that you've been playing in your life start to feel like they're not you. But you start to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I here? What is the purpose of being here? Like, you feel like what you're doing and who you're being isn't really you. You feel like you're people pleasing, and you feel like you're losing a bit of yourself by doing this. Everyday life starts to feel draining. Conversations, places, things that used to fulfill you no longer really feel like they're your thing. It feels very draining. When you're going through an awakening, you start to experience this need to be alone, wanting to isolate yourself from everyone around you. By doing so, you get to meet more of yourself. Everything in everyday life starts to feel different, and it no longer feels, the things that used to fill you no longer feel like they're fulfilling. Your intuition starts to get louder. We all experience this. There's this voice that we all decide to ignore. And that voice, when you're going through an awakening, starts to get louder and louder until you can no longer ignore it. And it starts to show up in different ways, as burnout, as anxiety, depression. By not following your intuition, you put yourself in situations, spaces that don't feed what is supposed to be being fed. And so your intuition gets louder, so much so that you can't ignore it. And then I think one of the other things that most people don't talk about when it comes to awakening is the grief. There is a grief that you feel when you realize that you have been playing below your standards. You have not been yourself. You have been settling for a life that isn't yours. You've been doing things that everyone else wanted for you, but you've never asked yourself what it is you want for yourself. There's a grief in doing something for long periods of time, and all of a sudden it no longer fills you, or having a relationship that is meaningful and it no longer fulfilling or helping you grow. Awakening isn't an easy task, and I think a lot of people mislabel it and get caught up in what it is. I feel strongly about giving insight onto what an actual awakening looks like and what that cycle may feel like. And when we have a better understanding of what it is, we can understand how we can better tackle it and manage what is happening. This is one of my favorite topics, and we're just brushing the surface. If you have experienced any of this and you feel like there's something that is happening and you would like some guidance on how to deal with some of these emotions, not get in these cycles and stay in them for too long, you can reach out to me via Instagram. I have my contacts below. And that is it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Love you guys. Peace.